Hello, this is episode 12 of Collaborate Live. I'm Bev Holden from the Clear Thinking Partnership, and today I'm joined by Dawn Smedley, an appreciatologist from OC Tanner. Hello, Dawn.
Hello, Bev.
Hi, thanks for joining me today.
I'm very excited to join you too.
Dawn, the reason for being so excited about interviewing you is when Kate and I were mapping out the behaviours that we think are important to collaboration, appreciation was one of our top ones. And so I got a bit giddy when I realised that your job title was appreciatologist. So I don't know whether that's all of what you're going to talk about today, but I think we should crack on with our interview. And I'd like to start by finding out what in your experience has made collaboration really work.
Well, it was interesting when you posed the questions to me because I was thinking about one moment when collaboration is kind of, that I could tell a story about, where my collaboration has really made a difference. And then I realised that my whole life is made up of collaboration. So work, absolutely, because appreciation to me is the icing on the cake when it comes to collaboration. But being a mum, with my kids, with the, family, everything that I've ever done involves other people. And I don't think I can think of one circumstance where I don't need input from other people, advice, ideas. So collaboration to me, it just encompasses the world that we live in, and that's what I want to talk about today. I think I've become an appreciatologist because I genuinely believe in the value and the possibility and the potential that people have. So I'm in exactly the right place to be going out to kind of speak to people about that now. And when you talk to me about collaboration, then that, like I said, gets me really excited. So when I think of stories, last night I was watching TV and I watched DIY SOS. And I don't know if you watch it, but last night's was kind of super powerful. And that to me is the perfect snapshot of collaboration at its best. Somebody needs help. Lots of people volunteered their time, which they could have got paid for, to actually make a difference for these people. And I think for us at OC Tanner, that's what we're about. We're about going out and helping people make a difference that they love, and then celebrating it and recognising it and appreciating it, and just reminding companies that without people, you wouldn't be anywhere. So,
yeah, absolutely. That makes real sense. And I do recognise what you're saying in DIY SOS. I've seen it. What is it about that you think really makes it powerful? So obviously there's someone in need and then all these people come together, but what do you notice about the characteristics and the behaviours in a
well, I thought about that, and I thought about if you actually started with collaboration and you start with the fact that everybody there wanted to make a difference to somebody, and in making a difference they pulled all their ideas together, they got rid of their own egos, their own kind of needs and everything else, they put the needs of somebody else first. And I think that's where this real innovation and this real ability to come up with something amazing happens. But a lot of your other talks have talked about trust as well. I think when you're with like-minded people that are willing to do that and that are willing to be open-minded enough to see the potential in others, then amazing things like that happen, and you get this emotional connection. I watch DIY SOS and I cry, and we'll keep going back to that. But I think we can create these moments of recognition within organisations where that same feeling resonates because they believe in the higher purpose of an organisation. And appreciation is that thing that underpins everything. If you notice the effort that people put in, then you tell them you can change the course of their day. You can make them feel on top of the world just by saying thank you. And I think it's just forgotten sometimes. Yeah. So that's kind of, for me, how it all fits together.
Yeah. That you've reminded me. Last week we went to the Trust Conference in London, and Bob Geldof was one of the speakers. And I don't know whether you've seen him speak. He rants quite a lot, but it was very interesting what he talked about and his perspective on things. But we were talking, the whole conference was about how trust accelerates performance, so economic performance, business performance, relationships, and of course appreciation is a way of us reinforcing the trust relationship. So it all fits together perfectly as being a really solid basis for collaboration as well, or certainly part of the ingredients that go with it.
We'll talk about appreciation being an accelerator in the same way as trust. in that that can be the way that really it highlights the potential in people, and that leads to higher performance as well. So exactly, those things completely align and correlate.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, so so let's talk about how collaboration figures in the work that you do. Where does it fit? I know it's part and parcel of everything you do, and it figures in all parts of your life, but tell us about it in the context of OC Tanner and your role.
Well, collaboration is everything. I work for a company that has a presence in lots of different countries around the world. So at all points of my day, I'm collaborating with people in the UK, I'm collaborating with people overseas, I'm collaborating with suppliers, partners, clients. You know, there is a lot of talk going on. And I think for me, it's about listening as well. Collaboration, to collaborate, you need to listen. You need to be open-minded enough to, and to put all of your ideas to one side, to listen to others, to see how that fits in based on your whole experience. And it was funny because Ian Pettigrew did some coaching with me, and one of my top 5 strengths was connectedness, and the fact that I see real connections in everything that I do, not just with people, but the world. You know, so I love meeting people, like-minded people, people that I trust. And I met with John Bartlett yesterday, and we didn't have any context to the meeting at all. But we sat down for an hour, and the ideas just flew out of there, because I think if you give yourself that freedom to think and, you know, to bring in the ideas. We've got a book, which I sent you actually, the Great Workbook.
Yeah.
And you talk about using your outer circle, which are people that you wouldn't necessarily go to normally to get ideas. So it might be that I don't work with you regularly, but I might think, do you know what? I'm going to get Bev's view on that, because she might have a completely different view to mine. And actually pulling in that experience and the different ideas from different contexts actually create these possibilities that didn't exist before. Yeah. So a couple of stories that I pulled out that are really, really kind of, to me, demonstrate collaboration was one with Subaru in Indiana. Now, their head of safety got the challenge to create a factory that produced zero landfill. Now, they produce cars, so at all points there is going to be material and stuff that has to go somewhere. And they were given this challenge, and it became this whole collaborative effort with their suppliers, with their employees. They had 3,700 employees, I think. And they had to just throw everything that they'd originally believed out of the window and start dumping things out of skips and looking at what they actually produced to think about how they could get rid of it. And they did it. They became a zero waste company, which is an incredible story about how when you ask, you know, something my dad always said, if you don't ask, you don't get. You know, but if you are willing to ask other people for help, generally people will bend over backwards to try and do something for you. It's like you give something to get something back, and I think that's the essence of who I am and kind of how I like to work out there as well. I'm just trying to think. The other story, and you'll have seen this one as well, is I came across it when I was in the Speed of Trust, a Stephen Covey workshop. And it was about Great Ormond Street Children's Hospital and the Williams F1 and Ferrari teams working with them, with their cardiac surgeons, right, to improve the way that they dealt with their equipment when they were doing cardiac surgery. Yeah. And again, that's reaching out to your outer circle. It's kind of looking for ideas elsewhere and then bringing people in to help you solve a problem. Amazing stories of collaboration. And I think when you recognize people along the way with that journey, you notice the effort that they're putting in, whether that's working as a team, whether that's innovating, whether that's just going above and beyond in what they do and just taking themselves out of their normal job role and thinking differently. I think that's where recognition and appreciation fits in, because you're constantly encouraging and giving positive reinforcement all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, that really makes sense. And people are sometimes reluctant to go outside what they know, aren't they? Because I guess we think within organisations that there are boundaries to who we can speak to and who we can involve. And I've noticed that that's different on the outside. I think I did it when I was on the inside.
Yeah.
But I think people can feel restricted, and I don't know. I guess it's something cultural, and I suppose in the organisation that you work within, it's obvious that there aren't any rigid boundaries around your organisation in terms of reaching out to that network.
No, it's encouraged. You know, since I've joined OC Tanner, I've been given free rein to kind of speak to, you know, to do things my way and try different things, and almost given the permission to make mistakes, to try things. If they don't work, we'll try something else. And I'm constantly supported. There is no underlying stress of, am I doing the right thing? Should I speak to that person? You know, there is a freedom to be able to kind of to just be, to try things. And I think when you've got that kind of culture where you are encouraged to develop and to grow and, you know, to try different things, and I think that potential in you just can blossom, really. And that's the challenge with organisations, is how do you create that culture? And you know, I think a lot of it comes down to, you know, the three drivers of engagement around trust and communication, all those kind of things, opportunity and well-being. You know, it's for the leadership teams of organisations to really work out how they can instill that trust and belief in who they are as an organisation, whether you're selling toilet seats or, you know, kind of changing the world, you know, and creating the next best green product out there. You know, you have to be passionate about what you do. So the other thing that I thought was interesting with collaboration is fit, cultural fit, and how you fit into an organisation. Because, you know, Ian talked in his talk about how he likes to work with like-minded people who he trusts. You know, you cannot always have that perfect scenario within an organisation. There are always going to be people that you come across that, you know, it just doesn't work, or it takes more work to get something good out of it. But I think you can, as somebody looking for a job, you can, through the interview process, kind of establish if you fit within an organisation, or you can try as much as you can to get to understand the organisation's values, and from an employer point of view, again, look at that individual and their values and how they fit. Because if they fit, then they're going to automatically work well with the people within that organisation, because and collaboration becomes easier because, again, you're believing in the higher purpose of that company. Is that me being idealistic? Because I am quite idealistic.
Well, no, I don't think you are, because there's two things you made me think about there. And one is the fact that when you are in a situation that requires you to work collaboratively, appreciation is sometimes the answer if you are working with someone who you don't naturally get, who you don't really gel with. Because I think if you can look for the stuff that you really could value about them, you start to look out for those examples. You know, we get what we focus on when we do that kind of thing. So I think actually for me that feels like a bit of a solution and a way of making a collaboration work more effectively. It requires you to be the bigger person and be the person who looks for that goodness, if you like.
I love that analogy, because it's I started doing meditation, and one of the things that really resonated with me was around the fact that the only thing that we can control is ourselves. You know, so the whole world exists within our mind, and therefore the only thing that we can do is change our minds, and we can. You know, and actually when you look at every situation that way and every interaction that way, and you try and see the best in everybody and the potential, and try and understand where they're coming from to understand where they're trying to get to, I think it can make a whole heap of difference in the result that you get out of it.
Yeah. And doing that, I think, does require you to trust that you're not going to be taken advantage of, and that you're not being soft. And I think that's one of the things that probably holds people back from doing that. And I think also we can be quite judgmental. You walk in a room with a group of people who you're required to collaborate with, and we make that instant judgment within a few seconds, and we've got to suspend some of that sometimes, I think, to be able to collaborate well.
And I think it's like with recognition and appreciation, kind of when we're encouraging people to really understand how to give good recognition and how to really let people know that they've done something great. There's nothing better than being specific about what it is, and then linking it to a specific behaviour and it be performance related. Because when you do that, what you were saying about kind of not wanting to be taken advantage of or come across as being kind of soft, I think if you have the ability to be specific about something that is not personal to them but is specific to something they've done, you know, I think that applies to appreciation, but actually it applies to lots of things. You know, you cannot argue with fact. So if you take the time to actually create a story around something that they've done, that's positive, then I think, you know, it removes those kind of fears sometimes.
Yeah, and I like the more positive inference of that. So quite often I'll talk to people about separating the person from the behaviour when you're dealing with something difficult in terms of behaviour, so that you don't get overwhelmed perhaps by the power of a person if they're in authority within your organisation. And just looking at the facts of the behaviour they're demonstrating. But of course that works equally well in the way you've described it when you're looking at giving people feedback and appreciation and recognition for what they've done. So that's nice that it works both ways.
A lot of people we speak to, one of their biggest barriers with recognition is the fact that managers generally, and this is a sweeping statement, but find it difficult to understand how to do it in a fair way. And so the feedback across the business might be that recognition is inconsistent. So a lot of what we try and do is get people to really kind of do a lot of training, kind of a mindset work around, be specific, think about, link it to values or whatever those behaviours are, and then demonstrate it, share it so other people can see it as well.
Yeah, there was a lovely story last week when we were at the Trust conference. Stephen Covey spoke at that conference, but he was on a live link, which at times is difficult to understand what was going on because he was somewhere in the States, and I think she's the HR director from Zappos, a lady called Holly Delaney, and she was talking about their culture and how they do what they do, and the culture of recognition that they've established. And they have this scheme whereby every employee can give $50 each month to an employee of their choice because they've impressed them in some way, because they've helped them or served them in some way. And there's a lot of trust involved in the administration of that and how it all happens. But of course, people have to be really specific because they're thinking, I've got my $50 and I'm going to give it to Johnny over here. What's my rationale? I can't just bung him $50. You know, I actually have to give him a real reason. So they've engineered something that actually naturally encourages that specific information to be shared.
Brilliant. And that's the challenge for us is going into organisations, because absolutely every company out there is different and the people are different, kind of what they're trying to achieve is different, and we go out and spend lots of time in organisations speaking to people from the cleaners through to the chief exec to try and understand kind of how appreciation could make a difference within the organisation, and just to bring out stories of great things that have happened and not so great things that have happened as well, so we know where to start and kind of start building exactly what you said, that culture of recognition and appreciation.
Yeah.
So
Phil, if you could collaborate with anybody on the planet, we're at that point where it's that question, who would you absolutely love to collaborate with?
This was a real tricky one for me because I don't really have that ultimate person out there that, you know, you come across people daily, like Twitter's opened up this whole new world for me, and I've only been on it for just over a year. But without it, I wouldn't have met you, I wouldn't have met John, I wouldn't have met Ian and Julie and all these great people that, you know, have been doing great stuff for you as well. And I think there's something very exciting about not knowing who I'd most like to collaborate with.
Excellent answer.
There are so many people out there, and you just never know who you're going to click with and who you're going to have the next great conversation with, and coming away where you feel excited and animated and, you know, full of possibility. And so therefore I'd like to keep that quite vague, and you never know, someone might reach out and say, do you know what, that random Dawn that doesn't stop talking, I'd quite like to collaborate with her.
Fantastic. We'll see whether the virtual circle of collaboration kicks in.
Exactly.
That's absolutely brilliant. I've really enjoyed speaking with you, Dawn. It's been great, and you by way of specific appreciation, you definitely ooze appreciation. So it's really lovely to hear you talk and be someone who's so enthusiastic about what they do and can really see that link to collaboration as well. So thank you very much for sharing your thoughts today.
Well, it would be remiss of me not to finish it with a bit of appreciation as well. So from the OC Tanner stock of badges, you get the ever so special Woo! Collaboration Nation!
Yay! Okay, I'm a winner! Never got a Blue Peter badge, so I'm feeling really special.
And what would be clever is if I could pass it through the screen and you put it on your... We should have done that. Oh, I should have posted it to you.
A missed opportunity. Thanks, that's really kind. Thank you very much. This has been, I think, episode 12 in the Collaborate Live series. Thank you to Dawn Smedley from OC Tanner for being our guest today. We'll be back in a week with another double feature where we have Candy Woodfield and Kev Wyke, I think, on 2 separate hangouts next week. So thanks again. I've been Bev Holden from the Clear Thinking Partnership. Goodbye for now.